Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I kind of had an epiphany about the Dame Portland situation, and the epiphany I had, it's not a new thought, but it's kind of, I'm circling them back around to an initial thought more than an epiphany, and that is maybe they should try to give it a shot. And the reason why I think the Portland Trailblazers should maybe consider trying to give it a shot between allowing Dame and Scoot to try to play with one another is a couple reasons. One, uh, Ramona Shelburne brought up a good point today on ESPN, stating basically that, you know, Dame Lillard is somebody that uh, they would rather not get rid of for long-term reasons. He's going to be their ambassador, so to speak, one of the greatest players to ever play for their franchise. They don't have the history that a Celtics or a Laker organization or even a Heat organization has, where they have players coming back from the past that can represent their organization. A lot of the guys they had don't really rep them like that, or aren't just, you know what I mean? They haven't won championships but once. Dame is one of the best they've had, and you kind of want to see a future where he can maybe come back and be an ambassador, or maybe have a role with the team, or maybe even buy a portion of the franchise someday, whatever the case may be. The point is, you want to keep a good relationship with Dame. You don't want this to go south for the long-term aspects of it. How it also looks for your franchise as the Blazers, who doesn't have a lot, but did have the relationship with a player, and ultimately you chose the youth movement over him and left him in a situation where he doesn't get what he would ultimately want in terms of the path that's ahead for him. It just makes you look bad as an organization in some people's eyes. So you'd want to guard against that, of course. So that's one reason. But I think the reason that I think is just new, another reason which makes it an epiphany for me, is the guard position in the NBA is just in general. And when you start talking about every team in the league, more or less, they're all either logjam with guards, some of which can't play off ball, some of which they can't move for whatever reason or set of reasons. Regardless, this is just about a good majority of the league at this point. Everybody has too many guards. Everybody has somebody's lead man guard that likely should be starting somewhere else, but it's just going to have to settle for a lesser role, or a guy who's going to have to learn how to play off ball with somebody else, because that's just what it is. And if they're not in that situation, it's just the epiphany here. They're going to be, over the next several years, with the drafts that are coming in, with so many guards that are likely going to be coming into the league that really can go. So some of the players, like, who are not used to having to share ball handling duties, are just going to have to do that. Some of these dudes that can't play off ball are probably going to be pushed out the league, because it's going to be mandatory that you're able to. So I don't know that Dame ain't going to find himself in a situation in Miami where he'll probably have to deal with that. Maybe not this year, but probably very soon. If he stays with the Miami Heat, or if they move him, the chances of him landing in a situation similar to the one he's leaving in Portland, where he'll have to learn how to play off ball with somebody, it's pretty high. It's pretty high. You find yourself in most situations around this league, and that's going to be the case. So here's what I often look at when I'm assessing what's best for an older guy on a massive contract. You want the guys around you to be very good and very cheap, so that you're not eating so much of the cap to not allow yourself to win. Those guys can be on minimal contracts, playing at a high level. That's kind of what you want. If you're the Portland Trailblazers, the scenario that you would have loved to have had happen sooner was you to get the second overall pick at some point in time in the last 10 years, so that Dame could have a running mate like this. But maybe not at that position, but somebody of that caliber to where you could say this is going to be a superstar, and over the next 4 years, he ain't going to be that much to keep on the cap. That way, that's high-level talent, and we could put enough other high-level talented players next to these guys, and you really get somewhere. Dame's contract is offset by the small nature of the rookie contract. So that's what you want. That's exactly what you want. If you're the franchise trying to manage Dame's contract, and if you're Dame Lillard trying to play with a good enough basketball team. So the only thing that gets in the way is the idea that these two dudes are leading stars and need the ball to themselves and probably can't play with one another. Well, guess what? If both of them don't learn how to play with one another, they're probably going to find themselves in that same situation 3 years from now. Scoot going to have to play with some lead guard, because some lead guard's going to be coming to Portland. It's going to happen. This is what we're finding out. I was frustrated with the various circumstances that are going on with the Orlando Magic, the Charlotte Hornets, the OKC Thunder particularly, drafting so many guards without letting go of so many young guards. It's one thing when you got old guys like Dame and you're trying to, to move into the new era. But when you got young guys like Giddey on one team, you got Cole Anthony and Markelle Fultz on this other team. You got Melo Ball and so many other guards in these all various situations, and they're drafting guards. We talked about Atlanta's situation with Trey and DeJounte. Now they're bringing in Kobe Buffkin. It's like, nah, that's a leading guard. But what I'm coming to realize is this is what it is. Until they expand, you're just going to have overlapping positions, and sometimes those positions are going to be guards. That's what it is. That's what the epiphany has been this offseason for me. It's just understanding that, I can be upset at these guards, but you try to find places to put them where they're going to be themselves. There ain't enough situations that allow these guys to be leading players. It's more leading guards than there are teams. And so that's what it is. Somebody going to have a log jam. If it ain't somebody, it's going to be somebody else. And so it just so happens to be those three teams right now, especially Charlotte, who kind of didn't really have a choice in some ways. They just had to take the best players available, and they drafted. They just had too many guards, and they have to do something about that now. And so do these other teams. So Portland kind of has that problem with Simons, Scoot, and Dame. It's a problem. But I'm telling you that they're probably going to end up having that problem any damn way throughout the course of their rebuild, because they're going to draft another guard that's going to be very high level. They're going to suck. They're going to get a lottery pick, and that player is going to likely be a guard. You see what I'm saying? So Scoot's still going to play with somebody. So that's what I have come to believe at this point. Now they could go out of their way to try to avoid drafting a guard, which shouldn't be as hard as passing up on Scoot Henderson at 3. Lord knows that that's not something that anybody's going to do in their right mind in this draft. But I always said I thought that taking Amen Thompson at 3 for Portland wasn't the craziest thing in the world because of this. At least with Amen, he is a point guard, but he's a huge point guard, so you could put him next to Dame. He's a guy who ain't going to do a lot of shooting, so you could put him next to Dame. If Dame, has to play off ball for any reason, it's going to be toward a person who's not looking for his own shot as much. I thought that was a better fit. Gives you a big size player next to Dame Lillard who's playing some defense. I just thought the fit made sense. And Amen was a crazy enough of an upside talent to where I probably want to get that player in place if I'm the Portland Trailblazers. Maybe I trade down to respect the value of Scoot. But that could have been an answer. But again, passing on Scoot ain't for everybody. And I respect that. In fact, I agree with it in a lot of cases. In Portland's case, if y'all follow my mock draft, I had them taking Amen. And I had Miller falling to 4. They weren't passing on Scoot. They were passing on Miller. Scoot went 2. So I can see why that didn't play out that way. I don't know that I ultimately would have wanted to pass on Scoot if he's available, if I'm Portland, just the same. But now you have these problems. It's the same thing we said about the Lakers taking Cam Whitmore at 17. You'd be happy having him, but now you got to find solutions for all the problems that bringing him on creates for you. And so that's what it is. It's one of those for them. And now they got to figure out the answer to these issues. And I think the answer is ultimately what they're landing on just by default, which is do nothing. Do nothing and start the season, unfortunately, for Miami, because it's going to leave them in flux. But I don't think you care if you're Portland. If they want to make the deal, they need to up the deal. If they want to make the deal, up the deal. That's what you say to Pat Riley and let him deal with that. And you go forward if you're Portland and just start the season and tell them players to play. Tell Dame, we signed you to a hefty contract that is starting to make more sense now that we look at other people's contracts, but still is very hefty, so we're going to need you to just play, man. And it doesn't benefit you to sit because we can't raise your trade value, nor can we get anything for you in the event that you're just not playing and you're holding out. It looks bad. It's bad for leverage. And ultimately, it gets you out of shape at age, 34? You can't afford to fall out of shape at age 34. We know that. It ain't as simple as just jogging your way back in the NBA shape. No, you got to stay in shape at this point. So, for Dame, I'm like, look, I done been with this team my whole career. I've had to play with guards before. We had to play with C.J. McCollum. They didn't have the difficulty on the offensive end that may be possible. But the defensive issues, they were there. Nobody seemed to have any problems with those. And that's another thing. That's another thing that I think doesn't get enough talk about. We're talking about the offensive fit. But all teams have issues with players that have fantastic offensive fits with one another that are complete garbage on the defensive end. And nobody blinks an eye like it's a mismatch. Yo, that is a mismatch. Don't put him next to him. It's something I used to say about the Lakers all the time, especially how we use Lonnie Walker. I don't care if these dudes can all dribble the ball. I don't care if they can all shoot the three. If they can't together guard a handful of me's. If they can't beat 5 players like me, stop us from scoring, then I don't care how much continuity they have on the offensive end. We're getting layups on the other side. And so that's something that needs to be said here, because a lot of times they're like, oh, he can't play with Scoot. On the offensive end. On the defensive end, they may have some issues too, but are we even assessing them? And are they a deal breaker? And should they not be? It's just not enough of an emphasis on defensive fit for these rotations and these players that really need to be matched up the same way we say, yo, he can't play with him because he plays off ball. He can't play with him because he can't dribble. Like, nah, he can't play with him because he don't know how to box out. He can't play with him because he's not going to win that 50-50 matchup with that without another player down there to help him. We're going to get crushed on the boards if he's continuing to play with him, but they can all spread the floor so everybody's safe and sound. I'm like, man, you're still losing the same damn game for reasons that don't have anything to do with proper strategy, because you're ignoring certain things that need to be matched up properly. So this is what we want to say. Scoot Henderson and Dame Lillard don't necessarily fit on the defensive end. On the offensive end, it doesn't look like they fit either. I'm not going to lie. But they're going to have to learn how to make that work, because anywhere they go, they're probably going to have that problem anyway. And that is the entire gist of my point. I hope that people are listening to what I'm saying in regards to not going big game hunting. This is about Miami. Not going big game hunting when you don't have assets. You don't have assets, fam. Clippers. Going big game hunting, maybe not the same thing, because the guy's trying to force his way to you, so it's different. But when you're trying to acquire a big game talent, and to a point, yeah, Miami, Dame is trying to force his way to you by way of circumstances outside of your control, so I guess that's the thing. But y'all were making moves around this well before it became a problem. Y'all was ready to make a trade for Dame at a low price and were willing to make real basketball team decisions based around the assumption that that was going to get done. Like it was just an assumption that you were going to be able to make some trade that was lopsided as hell in your direction. Wrong. Don't do that. It's essentially what I'm telling everybody. Don't do that. If you're a franchise, don't do what Miami did and let the free agency pool dry up like you some kind of, Lakers in 2020, whatever year that was when we did that. It didn't work. Had to be a different year. 2019, whatever year that was. It didn't work because we were waiting on something that ultimately never happened. It was Kawhi Leonard, whatever the hell year that was, when he decided he was going to do us the way he did us and went to the Clippers. Letting all the free agents sign with other teams so that we couldn't build our team. That's exactly the situation Miami's in. And so they did it to themselves by allowing a guy like Gabe Vincent and Max Strus and those guys to walk, knowing damn well that this was only going to work out if the Portland Trailblazers took some absolutely garbage, lopsided, ill-advised trade return to make it happen. So that's what I want to say to Miami Heat as I spoke on them yesterday. I'm not concerned with them if I'm Portland. You go find another team that brings me what it is that I'm more willing to move my player on for. Until then, don't call me, don't talk to me, nothing. I'm not trying to hear it. And that's the thing. It's like Miami, the stance that the media has been allowing us to understand is that they've been laughing at the trade packages that Portland has. I'm like, man, I'm in the driver's seat. I got him over here. He's under contract with he don't have no trade clause. So the power's in Portland's hands, so long as they're willing to start the season. And that's what this is all about, man. I'm starting the season. After thinking about this, I'm not going back to the table, taking Tyler Hero and a bunch of garbage that I don't want, having to throw in other pieces just to make it make sense, just to get Dame where he wants to go, when I know that the Miami Heat can do better in regards to that trade package. Why? Because they've had months and months and months and months to think about this, because they made moves that they would need months and months ahead of time in mind in order to have happened. Letting Max Strus go and Gabe Vincent, you better have that in mind. You ain't going to just let those guys go overnight. And so this is why I know they can accept a better package or put together a better one, because they know they'll have to. So that's what I'm thinking as well if I'm Portland. I'm holding Dame hostage like this is Die Hard 1. I'm not letting him go. Why? Because it doesn't benefit me in any way to let him part ways with this organization and I bring back some garbage. In every way, shape, and form, that's bad. And if it ruins the relationship between myself and Dame, that's the cost of business. Because if I let this relationship with me and Dame stay intact at the expense of me having a good return for my team, I am the Portland Trailblazers. There's a chance I don't even survive that as a franchise. Okay? I'm not the Knicks. My revenue ain't going, the fan base ain't going to carry me because of the big market. We ain't the Lakers, ain't got banners all over the place in the LA market as well. You're not Toronto and got a whole country and the biggest rap star in the world behind you. You ain't got none of that in Portland. That's not who you are. So the mistake that you're going to make next is going to be a mistake that likely puts you in a position to have things at risk that you should not have at risk, especially coming out of what you just came out of. So that's what I'm saying in regards to their financial situation. With the tax stuff that they finally overcame, they finally got into a position where they could reset their situation, opted not to for Dame, kept his homeboy Nurkic around, kept, all these different things they did for Dame. That's what I would tell the Portland Trailblazers. You've already made so many moves that can't be undone in the name of Dame's timeline. That was something that you probably shouldn't have did. You say the Jeremy Grant contract, that should never have been signed. I'm sorry. I guess with the inflation, the way things are going, Jaylen Brown getting $300, maybe it's a little more reasonable, but it's still egregious. It's still egregious. So, for all I know, that probably set the market. I don't know. But the point is, when you have players like that on your timeline, who's 30 years of age, needs to win right now, making $160 million for 5 long years, the things that should be next to him should probably ultimately be best for his timeline. If I'm being real, that's probably what actually makes more sense in the grand scheme of things. And with that being said, Scoot Henderson would be his point guard that's developing around him. That's likely going to be somebody who's going to make him a number 3, so long as you can have Shaedon Sharpe be a number 2. Jeremy Grant, Shaedon Sharpe, Scoot Henderson. It looks good. If I can get a good return for Dame that resets our situation. Yeah, and I can't do that because Dame's doing what he's doing in the way that he's doing it, and therefore. So that's why I'm like, look, let me start the season, see what happens. But here's the risk with starting the season if you're Portland. You start the season, Jovic's value goes up immediately because they're going to showcase him. He's going to ball out. You know that. So his price is likely going to double or maybe even triple as soon as you start this. As soon as he breaks out, it's a wrap. They're not going to even want to move him. They probably don't want to move him now. Caleb Martin, if he starts the season hot, maybe his value goes up, although I don't see that. That's why I told Miami they better move him now. Holding on to him like he's the next coming or something is crazy to me because he's already developed. He's already almost 30 years old. So I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking there. But, these are various different things that I'm looking at and I'm saying, all right, man, Miami Heat, as we talked about yesterday, they don't have a whole lot going for themselves. It'd probably be more beneficial to them to take a good hard look at Bam and Jimmy and ask themselves if they can continue to build a team around them that can win. And if the answer is no, then reset, as in trading both of them. Reset, get as bad as possible, and tank for the next several years to reset your situation and do it right. Since you have the Miami market, you have an influx of brand new talent and a bunch of cap space for which to do things correctly. So people afraid to do that. People afraid to get new stars. People afraid to let go of stuff. People afraid to suck. I don't know what to tell them, but it doesn't get better unless you force it to get worse in the NBA with your franchise. You can let guys retire and walk away, but at the end of the day, you're still going to rebuild. You might as well initiate it. You can have more control over it when you do it that way. So that's what it is, man. I'm telling Miami to blow it up. I stand on that. I said it before the playoffs. They went on a miraculous run in the playoffs, and then they let the players who were most beneficial in that run, or rather most influential in helping that run, go. And they're left with the core. They could probably still win, but they ain't going to be able to bring them nothing. So that's what it is, man. I ain't saying Jimmy's time in Miami is over, because that's just not the case. They're not going to do what it is I'm telling you they should. This is what they should do. Just trade everything. Start up Jovic and Jaime Jaquez and Tyler Hero would be the only thing left on the team, man. Kid you not. That would be the only thing left on the team, and I would be resetting with something new, and trying to, like I said, tank. And so that's what it is. That's what I think Miami Heat should do if they can't get this dang thing going. It's the same thing I said yesterday. Portland Trail Blazers should not allow them to take Dame Lillard for anything less than a handsome return. It's the only Hall of Famer you got. You got youngsters to consider if you don't develop them properly. You know, that's the thing. If you don't develop the youngsters properly, they are at a discount. You don't have to pay them $300 million. That's the reality of it. But if you do develop them properly, you're going to have to pay them. And in the event that you do pay them, maybe not building correctly won't keep them from signing that contract, which is the wisdom I was about to say. It may not. Shaedon Sharpe probably still going to sign at 205, 250, whatever it is he ends up getting. If it's a max contract, even if the Portland Trail Blazers are the worst thing in the world, he's definitely going to want his bag. That's just the culture. That's the culture. Ain't nobody even care how bad you are. Look at Minnesota and Anthony Edwards. He don't care how bad they are. He's going to sign that contract. So that's kind of the reality of it. The problem is after that, they suffer being on those sucky teams, never winning a damn thing. So that's what ends up coming for players like that, unfortunately. But all in all, man, I don't think that's going to keep them from signing. I would just tell them that your path is not going to be as good unless the team is making good decisions. And you'll just have to suffer that as you do when you sign that contract. There's going to be a lot of guys who appreciate being that wealthy regardless. But there's going to be a lot of guys who dream about the NBA and their path in the NBA. It's not going to be a whole lot about what it is they thought it was going to be. They're going to get a lot of money, but they ain't going to do nothing in history. Nobody going to care. It's going to be another rich athlete. That's it. And so I think a lot of guys are cool with that, but I think some of them, a good portion of them who are competitors, they're going to get the money anyway. They want to win, and they want to be the best. And the culture we're in doesn't care about that. So I think there's going to be a reaction to that at some point with one of these generations, and you're going to see some of them just say, you know what, the money is cool, but I want to win. Some of them going to be coming from families where they're wealthy already. They're already billionaires. Their dads played in the NBA. They want to win. And so that's what you're going to start seeing too. I mean, these dudes are already rich. So that is kind of how that goes. I don't know what to say other than there's never enough money for a lot of people. They're going to keep being greedy in some cases. But nevertheless, I think there will be the chosen few, some of which who are great, who are going to come along and say, you know what? My bag is straight, but I do want to be one of the greater players in history. And I can't accomplish that goal playing around with y'all in this money era that y'all in. So I don't know where that leads us. I don't know what that means, but I know that player or those players, they're coming. So that's pretty much where my thoughts are right there, man. Hope you guys enjoying this dog day summer content of the NBA. And ain't a whole lot to say that you don't create off the top of your dome because the news just doesn't exist. But all in all, that's pretty much what it is. My name is BDO44. I thank you all for watching.